the neuroscience behind fun and happiness. I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is Nicole Lazzaro, president of XEODesign. Welcome, Nicole.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's glad to be here.
So what does XEODesign do?
So at XEODesign, we unlock human potential through technology and play. So we're one of the leading developers in virtual reality, and we also do a lot of consulting on creating technology that's better for humans.
In addition to that, you've pulled some groundbreaking research on the science of fun into designing workplaces and games. Start with the neuroscience. Where does fun or human happiness come from?
Yeah, one of the things that we discovered several years ago was the relationship between what you do and how you feel, in a game. We measured emotion on people's faces while they played, and that unlocked something we call the 4 keys to fun, in which we created a design language, a design tool to create emotions from the actions that people take in a game, in addition to art and so forth. And so then what we did was we measured specific emotions on people's faces, the Ekman 6 plus curiosity and other emotions in the body. And we were able to, moment by moment, decipher what different behavior patterns led to different kinds of emotion. And then going into, using my, Stanford Psych degree, we went into the neuroscience of this. And we found some really amazing opportunities for interaction design to human happiness and really the future of work.
What role do each of these neurochemicals play in creating happiness?
Well, what we looked at is, I like to call it as dose. You get your daily dose of these 4 neurochemicals that all feel good, and they're really not bad for you. So the first one is dopamine, which focuses attention, marshals our energy so we can achieve a challenge. Oxytocin is, of course, we call it the cuddle hormone. It is involved in social relationships. Serotonin is an interesting ranking hormone. We can talk about more in terms of mechanics, and we found that it's a great way to feel good when someone that you respects, who appreciates you, who you respect. And then last, of course, is endorphins, which are the body releases, after physical exercise, but also other sorts of, strenuous activities. And the cool part about this model is that with, these 4 chemicals, with dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, is we can actually create systems, whether they're in games or whether they're in whether in a spreadsheet or a photo editing tool, that help people do the things that they need to do on a day-to-day basis. So if you can imagine, like, you go into the average workplace, and if it were a zoo, the Humane Society would shut it down because it's just not really designed for the emotional and cognitive needs of the people, the creatures that live and work there. We've had lots and lots of stuff about usability, and then very, very few things about, the interface between that technology and the emotions that we feel.
So let's talk about some of that then. What are some of the examples of systems in gameplay or work life, for example, where we can apply this neuroscience to our benefit?
Yeah, it's so great. Well, what we can do, for example, if we are editing a spreadsheet, or if we are designing a poster, or, I'm designing a game, I, open up a photo editing tool. And at the very beginning, we really want that user interface to create the feelings in us we want positive emotions, because we want to brainstorm, we want to try out ideas, we want to just do something silly. Think outside of the box, because at that moment in time, that's really important. That's what creates the energy. That's what creates the really cool ideas that you have. But then a little bit later on in the project, we have this need of having to make decisions, having to narrow down the design space. So at the beginning, we're trying to make it as wild and crazy as possible, so we can come up with something new and novel and innovative. In the middle, we have to innovate. We have to identify what is the most innovative, what's the most practical thing that we could do, what is, given the constraints, what would actually work. And then we have to become from positive emotion to more of a negative emotion a little bit, because we need to focus and make those kinds of decisions. And then we need to get social feedback from other people. So to help us decide. And in that case, we need social emotions. So we need the, the friendship and, having more friendship and meaning and being able to communicate and collaborate, all which have different social emotions, such as, oxytocin and serotonin are two. And then towards the end, of course, we all have deadlines, love them or hate them. What they do is they provide a little bit of negative emotions so we can focus on varying, like just the exact pieces. This is the exact solution. This is the exact brochure that's going to go out, or the exact edit of this, of this interview. And so it's really, I really think technology is really backwards right now, because we have the same interface for the beginning and middle and end of a project, when in fact we need different emotions. And so if you think about examples like Google has a little logo on it, the doodle that comes up, and they do it for major holidays, but most of them are like curious, like random days, like solely random days. And what it does is it actually generates oh, wait, why is there a picture of a cactus in the Google logo? And it creates curiosity. And then you want to click. And then what better emotion, curiosity, to have if you're trying to research? So the interaction design behind the Google logos actually helps the task of researching. And so from my perspective as an emotion designer and as a game designer, is that what we really need is we need a lot more affective computing. And by that, I mean not really as much that the computers need to feel emotion, but the computers need to be designed to interface well with the human emotional system. And not just to motivate us, or not just to make us feel, be more productive, but actually, you have different moments, different types of tasks, and they all require different emotions. Emotions aren't just for entertainment. Emotions actually help us human beings function. And that's really important to remember as well.
How does overcoming one's own concept of self-limitation contribute to fun?
Well, in the 4 keys to fun, the 4 factors that we found created by engaging games, the last one we call serious fun, and it's all about growth and meaning and creating value. And so, what you can design is in the relationship between the the things that you do, the goals that you have. You can create these challenges for yourself, in a sense, little games that can help you rewire your own brain. I was on an interview recently with on another podcast, and what was amazing to me is the week later, the podcaster showed me a video of their new space, and they had completely redesigned their studio with put up. They were here at our studio, which is a lot of fun stuff on the wall. But they put up these big goals, like, here's my goal: I want a new laptop, or I want a new computer, and then just like a big thing, and a big empty checkbox. And they put in on the side, they had put this little outline with the measurement for where that new Mac was going to go. And they, so every day, they were looking at their goals. And so that kind of helped them, sort of rewire what they wanted to do, rewire their brain.
I love that. Is celebrating or recognizing our accomplishments, even in small ways, like you've mentioned, important in helping successful behaviors repeat?
Yeah, so it's very important to recognize if you think of examples from games. In a game, you have the feeling of winning. You can't push a button and win the Grand Prix. You have to be challenged first. And then once you've won, you often have in a game, you might have 50 other features that just their whole role is just to reinforce that win, to make it feel significant, to make it feel exciting, to remind you that you won, a couple days later. I mean, it can be silly. Other sorts of emotions can be blended into it. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, for those kinds of things. But it's all rolling around the feeling of like, yes, that happened. And it's sort of it interfaces with the human emotional system, because the feeling of fiero, the feeling of winning, like, yes, I got the boss monster, is super powerful. It's a full body emotion. And then once we've won, it goes way up and then it just crashes down. So you need that second mechanic to come in. And then when we design work, when we design our lives, to reinforce that. Now you see that a little bit in sales, you might have little plaques or little medals or something like that, or a leaderboard, or little race horses, for your different salespeople. That can be motivating, but there's a lot of other things that are important. And in leadership training, I think that how the leader behaves after the win is super important, because, like we just did a game jam. And so you're like full on all weekend, we were working with the Bose AR new, augmented reality sunglasses. And, so then we finished, and there's this big high, Sunday night. It's like, yes, we did to do the presentation in front of everybody. So we've got social emotions as well as achievement together, right? Because it's a social thing. And then, of course, then Monday, it's really important, especially from a leadership perspective, is to come back and reinforce, like, hey, this is what happened. I'm so proud of you. We want to look at those emotions and, provide the context for them to feel good about what happened. Because your emotions can go up, and then they can also really crash. And you get this sort of almost, you can get this almost postpartum depression, after a really big project. And I think that if you look at human culture, like these are the kind of questions I've asked myself over the years as a researcher, like, why do we have things like celebrations? Like, why do we have birthdays? Why do we have these parties? Why do we have, medals? Why do we have these different, markers? And a lot of it has to do with the human emotional system and really wanting to feel a sense of progress. And if you think about it, what we do, especially in this geeky world we live in with computers and cell phones, and now augmented reality displays, or AR, audio, displays, is that work has gotten so virtual that it's become unhinged, separated from our emotions. If you think about, if we go back to, being on a farm, and back in the day, we used to milk cows instead of clicking on them in some game, is you would milk the cow and you could see the pail fill with milk, so that sense of progress was built in right into the activity. Most information work, is not that way. You could feed the animals, you could talk with your coworkers, and at the end of the day, those heavy milk pails, they felt heavy as they moved back to the barn. And it's the end of the day, job well done. So we have this whole cycle. So even if we might have a week-long project, or a year-long project, or a month-long project, but even on those daily cycles, really feeling at that end of the day that you made progress is super important. And most of our information work is simply, Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton or Lucille Ball in a factory, with just the endless supply of chocolates coming by, right? And it just feels like more, right? We don't have that. The rhythm, it's novelty, which connects to dopamine, to have in the day. That's really important. And it's also, though, important to, close the loop. And that's something that software and a lot of the way jobs are designed just doesn't really do. And that can lead to motivation in folks.
How did you incorporate any of these principles and techniques into your game, like Follow the White Rabbit?
Yeah. So we've done several virtual reality games, and the thing that we're looking at now is, of course, a game called Follow the White Rabbit. And let's Follow the White Rabbit.
Who we are going to interview next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, are you ready for that? Yeah, you ready? Okay. She said it. All right. High five. Okay. So in White Rabbit, it's really fascinating. So if you think about what virtual reality is, it's really a trip to Wonderland. And I grew up in Wonderland. I actually grew up overseas. When I was a kid, I was riding camels, climbing pyramids, exploring fire temples, and I just want to go back and feel that same full body wonder I had as a kid, and bring all my friends. And I think a lot of folks, really want to go back to see those feelings. So we designed and Follow the White Rabbit this capacity, taking the capacity of virtual reality to create empathy and just, really X it up, really multiply it. So when you go into this world, it's a game about a magician who's been a charlatan like all his life, until one day his magic actually works and the rabbit disappears, wearing a priceless diamond bracelet. So now everybody wants to follow the White Rabbit. So we go around the world, and we're taking the different puzzles in the different locations. We go to Egypt, we go to the Great Wall of China, we go to we go to Paris, we're going to go to New York, all these great locations, and have puzzles that you have to solve using knowledge of the local culture. So we're actually creating the emotional experience of empathy in order to play and in order to progress in the game. And I think those kinds of mechanics are very compelling And we've actually done a lot of work on this for the past number of years. We've actually created for the game. We've actually created our own proprietary emotion model, inside underneath the game, as well as a narrative AI. We're in the process of building, so that you can play and experience a lot deeper emotions and repeat the experience and feel different emotions as you go through. And this is all about creating gameplay that it's that interface between what you're doing in the game and then how you're feeling as you play. And that's what creates a narrative arc. In the normal, like if you think about normal film, it's like beginning, middle, and end. You have that rising action, the climax, the falling action, the denouement. All of that is designed as a structure, and really it's designed to trigger different emotions as you go along that path for a classic narrative. Now, when we want to do interactive narrative, and the project that we just finished, or that we're doing as a jam project, is called the Scrambled Oracle. And what we're doing there is we're looking at interactive audio, so that we can interact with this audio world and these audio characters, and move yourself emotionally as you go forward. And I think there's a huge opportunity for repeatable, multiple branching narratives, lots of interesting interaction that doesn't have to be like like Bandersnatch, where it's really a choose your own adventure. We're allowing the player a lot more agency and a lot more freedom, so they don't feel like they're guessing the designer. And that's going to create a much more compelling experience. And it will feel emotional, just like the 3-act structure feels emotional, but it's not going to have that structure necessarily.
Nicole, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, maybe they want to find out more about your work and more about these interesting topics, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Nicole Lazzaro, NicoleLazzaro, and you can follow the White Rabbit at playwhiterabbit.com, or my company website, which is XEODesign.com.
All right. That's Nicole Lazzaro, CEO of XEODesign.com. And if somebody wants to connect with me, you can do that right here, or go to TonyaHall.net. Thanks for watching.